Welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be doing another profile with my buddy Ryan. What are you playing, Ryan?
I'm playing the Time Seal lock deck from the GOAT format.
That kind of guy. He's right here. You're looking at him right now. He's that kind of guy. Alright, let's check it out.
Play 3 Tsukiyomi. You need to play 3 because you need to see this card every game. It facilitates the loop with Mask of Darkness. Sangan, basically your 4th copy of Tsukiyomi. 2 Night Assailant. You play this because it facilitates getting like Mask of Darkness back. You can use Call of the Haunted to bring it back, flip it down with Tsukiyomi, but this is another way to recur it. 2 Mask of Darkness. You don't want to play 3 because it is kind of bricky. Yeah, you need to see this, obviously, for the loop, but traps, they're kind of like we use to control the game state, and you can't turbo with them like you can with Magician of Faith, so just 2 is fine. 2 Apprentice Magician, because you want to see Magician of Faith to abuse Tsukiyomi to turbo. That helps you get the card advantage that snowballs over the opponent. 2 Magician of Faith. It's fine with the Apprentice Magicians. 1 Old Vindictive Magician. It's kind of like an option for Apprentice Magician. Out stuff like they attack your apprentice with, say, like Tribe or something. You can out the Tribe and stuff like that. Abusable with Tsukiyomi, Book of Moon, all that stuff. Breaker, staple in this format. Sinister and Tribe. For spells, Sword of Healing Light, not really the most standard thing, but it's like one of the best things you can wall behind. It's very annoying for people to deal with it because you can just recur it over and over again. Yeah. 2 Book of Moon. 2 is fine. I don't really think you'd want to play more than that. You're playing 3 Tsukiyomi, so it's fine. 2 Nullman Crossout. Playing Max Tsukiyomi, Nullman Cross is really good for removal, obviously. Delinquent Duo, Premature Burial, Snatch Steal, Graceful Charity, Bought of Greed, Heavy, and Mystical Space Typhoon. Pretty standard spells in this format, I'd like to think. Nothing too special there outside the swords. Then for traps, Ring of Destruction. Just a note on this, is kind of iffy because you play 3 Solemn Judgment in this deck and you can burn yourself quite easily. You need to be very careful in using this as more as like you're saving it for that breaker or for stuff like that, because breaker is a big problem to deal with when you're trying to continuously use flip effects. Call of the Haunted, 2 Sakuretsu, Mirror Force, 2 Wing Blast. This is kind of like a pseudo Time Seal. You blow a card to the top of their deck. It's effectively a draw lock. You get to use Night Assailant's effect off it. Usable Sinister Serpent, of course. Just pretty solid card. 2 Time Seal. This is what the deck's built around.
Tell me about Time Seal.
Yeah, so if anyone's played way back in the day, people know how annoying Yatagarasu was. This was basically a deck that was in early GOAT format, and people just replicated the Yata lock essentially with it. I think it did top aided a SJC back in the day. This is not the exact build. This is more like, I guess, refined to how the game has evolved in GOAT format over time. And then there's 3 Solemn Judgment, which is also effectively a Time Seal. If you Solemn Judgment them, they have no play, and you flip Mask and you get Solemn Judgment back, you just keep stopping anything they have play-wise. Eventually, slow down, they get something that's really passive, and that's like a +1 in tempo control, you could say. And so you basically build this little step of tempo control over them, and then they can't play the game anymore. And you just win with little weenie pokes over and over again.
Alright. Alright, so let me give you some questions here. So first of all, for the new players that don't know Time Seal and all that kind of stuff, why don't you explain to us a little bit about the Time Seal combo?
Alright, so Time Seal in itself is a very simple card. When you activate it, they just skip their next draw phase. Nothing too big about that. It's a very good card in the format. It punishes people that blind shoot on back row because you can just chain Time Seal and they've straight up -1 for no reason. Which is, card advantage is very important to the deck because you have to get that pseudo control over them. And then it just kind of snowballs. And of course there's cards outside of Time Seal like Solemn Judgment that effectively do the same thing.
You mentioned Wing Blast as well.
Yes, and Phoenix Wing Wind Blast. So these three are very important for controlling the game state. Wing Blast basically is a copy of Time Seal when paired with Sinister Serpent. But better because it limits their plays and their interactions with you. Essentially, all you need is to have your Mask of Darkness on the board with your Tsukiyomi, just flipping it back down and up over and over with one of these three.
They'll just never get a new card ever again.
Yeah, they'll never get a new card. So, like, any card they get with Solemn Judgment, for example, that is relevant to attacking over Mask of Darkness will just get Solemn Judgmented.
Yeah, it doesn't matter about life points if they
If they get a spell and trap on their next draw, that's just like, say, Sakuretsu Armor. That doesn't do anything. Time Seal's just straight up block. There's nothing really to that. They just skip their draw phase, of course. You can always hold this until your turn. Like, you can set it and hold it to your turn to activate Time Seal. That way you can bait stuff like Heavy Storm. They think they're getting a plus out of it, and you're just like, they heavy you and you're like, chain Time Seal, chain Phoenix Wing Wind Blast. They just, they just lose a lot of advantage for no reason.
Okay.
Wing Blast 2, important how I said with Night Assailant, can recur Mask of Darkness. You are only playing 2 copies, it is very weak. So anything that stops them from attacking over it, like Wing Blast, Solemn Judgment, looping like Sakuretsu Armor or Mirror Force is also just annoying, because they just can't attack you, period.
Well, like you said too, you only need one to go off for you to complete the loop, and they're just screwed.
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay.
So that's how it facilitates.
What matchups do you think your deck excels at? You obviously mentioned Goat Control.
Yeah, so the standard Goat Control list, because of how passive it plays, it'll just set its monsters, flip Dekuichis or something, Magical Merchants. Their only pushes is like Breaker, Tribe, a Zero Priest. If you're playing that, Kaikus, stuff like that. So Kaiku is not it's decent versus this deck, but you don't play any of the Chaos cards. It's only decent because it snipes your mask from being recurred, obviously. But Kaiku's an easy target to kill because you're playing max copies of Tsukiyomi. So that's just an easy kill target.
So your deck is a little bit more passive till it gets the combo.
Is.
So whatever decks you were saying were
It is
were
incredibly passive to the point where sometimes it's a problem.
Okay.
If a deck is very aggro against you, so let's say Beast Down in this format, or Warrior with like Exiled Force, Mystic Swordsman level 2.
Yeah.
It's a little problematic.
Gonna have a bad time.
Yeah, but against the other stuff, it's fine, I feel.
Okay.
Yeah, no, it's pretty good. Especially when people invest like plays like into tribute summons like Air Knights. Granted, it's like floated tribute summons, but still drawing an Air Knight again or something, it's just like feels bad.
Now I die.
Yeah, pretty much.
Alright.
So yeah, that's pretty
Do you have any tips for players that would like to try out your deck? Anything that they should know before they pick it up? Or maybe things that you think they should look out for as an experienced player with Time Seal?
So anything that's very... You have to be able to read your opponent very well playing this deck. This is not something you just blindly play against decks not knowing how their decks function. So making proper reads on like checking the cards that have been already used in play and establishing what threats that is left is very important to playing this, because essentially you're hitting a checklist of threats that you're dealing with and saving cards for those threats.
Okay.
So like, for example, when I said with Bring of Destruction earlier, you want that literally save for Breaker, because Breaker being able to snipe a back row and then run over your mask, like you'll get a trap card back, but you've lost your lock on that.
And the tempo.
Yeah, and the tempo. And the deck doesn't really have many beaters. Your biggest beater in the deck is 1600 attack. So you have to play this deck very, very carefully and have a good established mindset of what other decks do and what they don't excel at. Because essentially what this deck does, you exploit the weakness of the other decks. You hit the things that they're excelling at, then they slow down a bit, and in that slowdown process is where you just lock them.
I could definitely see players that are not as good at GOAT format definitely getting punished by this too. Like just tribute summoning into like a Phoenix Wing Blast.
Oh yes, yeah.
Newer players will just get destroyed.
Yeah. Of course, some like non-standard tributes, like let's just say Mobius, for example, it doesn't do anything versus this build essentially. I mean, imagine having set like Wing Blast and Time Seal and they just tribute into Mobius. Like, not like a Sangan tribute summon, but it's like some random monster. Because they think, oh, well, I'm going to get pluses off of this Mobius summon. And then it's just nothing but straight negs and a dead draw.
Yeah.
So they play themselves. But then there's other tributes that essentially, I mean, it's at 1, but Jinzo, you're going to have a hard time. And that's essentially what Solemn Judgment is there to stop as well, in addition to Heavy Storm being what it is.
Alright, well, thanks for the profile.
Yep.
For you guys watching, thanks for checking out the channel, and I'll see you guys in the next video.